The U.S. Senate has confirmed President Donald Trump's controversial nominee for Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, by the slenderest possible margin. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence cast the tie-breaking vote to secure her cabinet role, splitting the chamber 50-50. It was the first time ever that a vice president has interceded in such a way for a cabinet secretary. Mrs. DeVos, a billionaire who has no experience with public schools, faced a rocky confirmation hearing last month. Moments after voting ended, she tweeted, "I appreciate the Senate's diligence and am honored to serve as a chosen secretary. Let's improve options and outcomes for all U.S. students." Senate Democrats staged a 24-hour debate into Tuesday to hold up her confirmation. They hoped their all-night speaking a marathon would pressure more Republican senators to oppose the nomination, but their efforts were in vain. Mr. Pence was also the first vice president to cast a deciding vote in the Senate since 2008, when Dick Cheney voted on a tax adjustment plan. No Democrats voted in favor of Mrs. DeVos. 2 Republican senators stood by their plan to oppose her confirmation, leaving the Senate in a deadlock. Critics say Mrs. DeVos, who advocates for charter schools, is not qualified to run the Department of Education. She faced intense scrutiny before a Senate committee in January, when she made headlines for noting that a Wyoming school might need a gun to defend against grizzly bears. Labor unions, rights groups and teaching organizations have also spoken out against her nomination. Groups including the American Federation of Teachers and the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights held protests against Mrs. DeVos outside of Congress on Monday evening. The 59-year-old is a wealthy Republican Party donor and a former Michigan Republican Party chairwoman who has long campaigned for education reform in the state. Her husband Dick DeVos was a chief executive of the beauty and nutrition giant Amway, and her brother is Eric Prince, the founder of the controversial private security company Blackwater. She is among several of Mr. Trump's cabinet picks whom Democrats have been trying to block from being approved. Democrats said in January they would target 8 of Mr. Trump's nominees based on their lack of qualifications and policy positions. Before Mrs. DeVos' approval, just 6 of Mr. Trump's cabinet picks had been confirmed, compared with former President Barack Obama's 12 cabinet secretaries at this point in 2009 and 16 of George W. Bush's in 2001, according to The Washington Post. The slowed process is also partly due to the fact that some of Mr. Trump's picks have not completed a lengthy vetting process typically required of cabinet candidates, which helps identify potential conflicts of interest. Hundreds of staff positions also remain vacant as the fate of 15 of Trump administration's nominees hangs in the balance.